All right, welcome everyone. We are going to go ahead and get started. This is our first design advisory group, meeting number one. We will have an interview together, and we are really excited to have all of you here with us. So, the first thing that we want to do is to actually start the meeting with a land acknowledgement. The Portland metro area rests on traditional village sites of the Multnomah, Wasco, Cowlitz, Cathlamet, Clackamas, bands of Chinook, Tualatin, Calapooya, Molalla, and many other tribes that make their home along the Columbia River. Indigenous people have created communities and summer encampments to harvest and enjoy the plentiful natural resources of the area for the last 11,000 years. We want to recognize that Portland today is a community of many diverse Native peoples who continue to live and work here. We respectfully acknowledge and honor all Indigenous communities, past, present, future, and are grateful for their ongoing and vibrant presence. We also acknowledge the systemic policies of genocide, relocation, and assimilation that still impact many Indigenous Native American families today. As settlers and guests on these lands, we respect the work of Indigenous leaders and families and pledge to make ongoing efforts to recognize their knowledge, creativity, and resilience. Within the Cleveland community, we also acknowledge how we have systemically failed Native students and commit to ensuring a better future for the Indigenous and Native students and families who have continued to contribute to bettering our community despite our failings. So I do just want to note that this land acknowledgement was actually written by Cleveland students. And we like to start each meeting remembering this because we think acknowledging the past is really going to help us create a better future. So with that, I am Lisa Alvarafon with Milam Architects. I am part of the design team. We are partnered with Studio Petretti. There are a number of us here and we will do announcements shortly. But before that, I wanted to go over the agenda for today. So we'll start with welcomes and introductions. Then we are going to actually shift over to the Design Advisory Group Charter. So Eric's gonna talk to us about that. And then we're gonna share with you the Cleveland High School site context and what we have been working on for the last 6+ months with the comprehensive plan, and really share a preview of that with you. We're then going to shift over and focus on talking about community voices with our partner After Brews, and then we're going to jump over and do an activity that's going to really start to look at program adjacencies as we move forward with the design of Cleveland High School. So here you see a picture of our team. Many of them are over here. Raise your hands, thank you. And the first thing we really want to do is to get to know everyone in the room. So we want to start that by having everyone share their name and also their connection to Cleveland High School. And I'm going to pass the mic around. And I'll start here.
Hi, my name's Ed Smith. I am an alumni and also a member of the Alumni Association.
I am Evan Juneman, and I'm a current Cleveland student.
Hi, I'm Allison, and my children are in first and fourth grade, and they're part of the net immersion program, so they will eventually go to school here.
Hi everyone, my name is Tiffany Rodriguez. First and foremost, I am a mom of a first grader at Llewellyn Elementary. But from 9 to 5, I'm a chief academic officer for a local college. So I have the opportunity and the pleasure of working with a few of our graduates and alumni from this high school.
Hi, my name is Megan Stuck. I am a mom to a sophomore here at Cleveland and an 8th grader at Oscar, who will be here sooner in life, but here we go. I am also highly involved in the Cleveland softball program, and I am here to represent softball interest.
Hi, my name is Steve Harvey. I'm the operations manager for the student health center with the County Health Department, and we have 20 in this building and 4 other public schools. And we have 9 total across the county.
Well, this must be the Multnomah County table. I also work for Multnomah County, building libraries.
I have a 9th grade son here, and I have a 6th grader at Silver.
Hi everybody, my name is John T. Kim. I am a parent of a boy and a girl. We're both 6th graders at Selwood, and they're in the junior volleyball and junior basketball Warriors programs. And I also live in the community, work for Multnomah County Libraries, and work on the $387 million building fund program with my patriot here.
Hi, I am Sam Stuckey. I am an alumni and a parent to small children who will someday go to Cleveland. Everything goes well.
Hi, I'm Michelle Hardaway. I'm the school social worker here at Cleveland. And the majority of the students that I support are students of color, students who qualify for free and reduced lunch, students in foster care, and students who often get forgotten or are underserved. So I'm here to represent them.
Hi, I'm Nikki Trueblood. I am your college coordinator here and a student union advisor. I don't know how to tell you how I'm not connected to I was a student here, I met my husband here, I have a first grader who will go here one day, my family wanted this place, I am all about community, our students and our families.
I'm Jan Watt. It is so awesome for me to know that people I taught are in this room. It is so awesome to see all of you with younger children that I want you to make sure they go here. I'll be dust, but I want them to go here. And I cannot tell you how much I look forward to the ideal wonderment of what this building is going to be. Let us not approach it negatively, please. Let us look at all of the things that we can do despite our square footage, yada, yada, yada. I just want us to be positive because I need that this month. And may all of our seniors graduate. Sam, you have wonderful young children. I will want to live to see them here.
I'm Jamie Corvaya, she, her. I've been teaching at Cleveland for about 10 years in the English department. I'm going to be moving into being the coordinator for the IB program next year. I currently have a freshman attending here, and I have a 6th grader at Selwood Middle School. My son plays for the Ultimate Frisbee team through Cleveland as well. Very excited to kind of see how we can pull all these threads together as parents and community.
I'm Julia Blattner. I'm an alum of Cleveland High School. It's my 16th year teaching here. I also am married to my high school sweetheart, so there's a lot of consistency in this room. And I have 2 small children who will eventually be warriors as well. I have a 3rd grader and a kindergartner, so they will be in a much safer, cooler building.
My name is Gary Ryler. I'm the band director here, and I also have a student who's a junior, so I'm here to represent the performing arts.
Good evening, I'm Joanne Watkins. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a very proud principal of Cleveland High School.
Chris Dunning, my dad went here. I've got 3 daughters, one at Selwood, 2 at Llewellyn, all of them will go here. They play basketball, softball, and soccer between them, so more sports getting covered. I also work at Energy Trust of Oregon, so I'll bring that kind of energy efficiency perspective. I'm a finance person, but I'll try to channel my coworkers as much as possible.
I'm Ashley Schmidt, and I have an 8th grader and a 6th grader at Selwood Middle School, so that's my connection.
I'm Bella, and I'm gonna go to Cleveland.
My name is Aaron. I'm not a DAG member, so I guess I'm in the capacity of chauffeur for another committee member. Nice to see you all.
Hi, I'm Meg. I use she, her pronouns. And I'm a science teacher here, so bringing back that perspective and their input to this process as well.
I'm Nick Robin. I'm a neighbor. I've been living for 16 years. My kids go to Franklin, so don't hate on me. But I also play basketball, so I enjoy getting smoked here.
I'm Owen. I'm currently student here.
Hi, I'm Lucy Sorrell. I'm a health teacher here. I'm also connected with the visual arts department, so representing multiple teachers, and I'm also the aunt of 2 Llewellyn elementary students, so future warriors.
Oh, hello everyone. My name is Hector Lopez, and I'm a project manager with the Office of Modernization, working here at the Cleveland Project.
Hi, I'm Linda Isaac-Lonst. I'm a substitute teacher here, and also the mother of an alum, Patty Kinsella from 2014. And I'm an cultural anthropologist. I'm very interested, and I'm a neighbor. I live nearby.
Hi, my name is Luke Smith. I'm an architect with Studio Petretti, and I'm part of the Malum Studio Petretti design team for Cleveland High School.
My name is Pip Allen, and I am an architect at Malum Architects, and I am also on the design team.
Robin Robleski at Malum Architects, also a member of the design team.
Hi, I'm Anne Petretti with the Studio Petretti Architect. Happy to see a lot of familiar faces here, and I'm the design principal for the combined Malum Studio Petretti team.
Hi everyone, I'm Hannah Allender, also the Studio Petretti Architecture. Professionally a member of the design team, but personally I have 4 future warriors in the family, my nieces and nephews, so.
I'm Chris Brown, also an architect and a member of the design team, project architect for the project.
Hi folks, my name is Rhonda Teevee. I use pronouns like she and her, and I am a community engagement specialist with the community engagement firm After Bruce.
And again, I'm Elisa Lagarahon with Malum Architects. I'm the project manager. I worked on the Cleveland High School master plan back in 2019, and also have just finished up the comprehensive plan. And I'm really excited to get us started off with some design today.
I'm Abby Facey. I'm the principal charge from our combined Malum Studio Petretti team. I'm a parent of a 6th grader and a 9th grader, but not in this Scotland area, but very intimate with all of those age groups.
Hello, my name is Eric Girding. I'm the Senior Project Manager for the Cleveland High School Modernization Project with the Office of School Modernization at PPS. I've been with PPS about just over 10 years and recently completed the Lincoln High School rebuild, and before that the Fabian K-8 rebuild. I'm a Cleveland High School graduate, and Jan was one of my teachers. Great journalism teacher, so thank you for that experience. And just really excited to be here and part of this team and kicking off the design phase for everybody. So really appreciate everyone's participation. Bag process. All right, well, we are a design advisory group, so you're gonna help advise our designer. That seems pretty straightforward. Design process takes a while. We are starting what's called the schematic design process. I think we have a, is there a schedule graphic that talks about that a little bit? Our schematic design process takes a number of months. It's really kind of looking at the big picture, and as we move forward through design, we get into just further detail and further development. The phase after that is called design development. Then we do construction documents. Then we go out for building permits. That process takes about 2 years. So don't worry, you don't have to come to meetings for 2 years. But really for this next year, while we're really working out the design, this is a really critical time to get our community feedback. So really appreciate you being here. There we are. So this is the schedule graphic I was asking about. So yeah, we're right here after our phase 1 of comprehensive planning. There's some members here. In fact, if anyone was on the comprehensive planning committee, could you raise your hand? Let me see. Great. That effort started last fall and just completed about a month ago. So thank you so much for continuing to volunteer your time in this effort. The fact that you're coming back to this effort hopefully shows that we've had some success in working with the committee in the first round. And so, as I mentioned, we're starting this design phase right here. This kind of big blue section, which it takes about 2 years. And then construction also takes about 2 years. So as you probably know, we do not have funding for construction yet. That comes from a future bond. We are anticipating a bond in this fall of 2024 that will include funding for Cleveland High School. I'll talk a little bit more about that. Here's the sort of general schedule for the schematic design phase and our DAG meetings and kind of what we're going to be talking about. So today's really going to kick off context, introductions, giving everybody kind of level setting of where we're at. Hopefully everybody picked up the binder that's out front, so if you haven't got that, please pick that up. That's the executive summary of the comprehensive plan that was just approved by the school board on Tuesday night at 11:35. That was a long night for us, but not because of us. There was a whole protest and disruption and everything, but that was approved, so we're approved in our next phase, so just in time for you all to come here tonight. So, you know, as you see, we're going to be kind of finalizing the sort of general scope of the project and looking at that at our next meeting. We're going to start talking about design concepts, exterior design, interior experience, and then starting design development. And so, you know, we're sort of designing a building now, but it's like very big picture. So we won't be getting into the sort of interior details until later. So I'll just read a little bit here. I don't want to read all this, but there was the charter that was shared to everyone, and I hope everyone's had a chance to read that. It really kind of just talks about what is the role of the design advisory group. The idea is that we collect and synthesize your input and collaborate with the design team, you know, to help give our good input and influence the process with the design team. We don't want to design in a vacuum. You know, we really need to understand what's special about Cleveland, what's special about this community, so that we can make this project about Cleveland and this community. The design advisory group is not a decision-making group. We have a lot of groups within the district, but really the decision makers really comes down to the school board. We do have internal leadership, superintendent, and our executive leadership team. So they may be reviewing certain kind of deviations that we might be proposing to do something a little bit special or unique within Cleveland. and we take that to leadership for decision making. The design advisory group, though, can make recommendations, can give requests. You could say, hey, we really think this one thing is important. It's maybe a bit of a deviation from our sort of the standard list of what's supposed to be in a high school, but we really feel strongly about it. And then we can take that to leadership and get feedback to decision making. Any questions about that process? Okay. Here we go. Okay, in the application, we talked about chair position or co-chair position for the design advisory group. That's where we did ask folks if that would be something that you'd like to kind of volunteer some extra time for. We did have one applicant that just said yes and had some good things to say about that. That's Tiffany Rodriguez. So appreciate that and wanting to volunteer your time. We like to have a chair position, really have a couple people involved, more like co-chairs. The responsibilities are not huge, but really we like to have the chairs of the committee to participate in the design meeting after we meet with you. Our team comes together, we talk about what happened in that meeting, what was the kind of input that came in, what are we hearing from the community. We want to make sure that the chair of the committee is in that meeting to make sure we're not missing something, or perhaps they heard something from committee members that really wants to be communicated to the design group. And so we'll talk about sort of that debrief from the meeting, and then a week or two after that, there'll be another meeting to kind of review the materials and slides and the activities that we'll be bringing to this group at the following meeting. We want to make sure that there's representation of this group in kind of our organization and development of those materials. So that's about maybe an hour meeting every 2-3 weeks, something like that. We're targeting Tuesday mornings, so if there's a scheduled question, that's the time that we're doing that. There were a number of you that said maybe, which is great, and really appreciate even you considering that. So I'm going to kind of put folks on the spot that are here that said maybe. I mean, Tiffany said yes, so I mean, you're it, Tiffany. Thank you so much. And your experience with higher education and administration, I think, would be really helpful. But we'd like another voice in the room too. So for the folks that said maybe, is anyone leaning toward a yes? We got a couple. Ed, and your name? 8. Any others? Sam. Right. Okay. Well, so what we'd like to do, I know that each of you, if you'd said maybe, that there was a statement we asked, so why do you want to be a co-chair? What can you bring to the process? We want to we want to select someone else. So we've got 3. Would you be willing to just share with the group your thoughts about being a co-chair, what that means to you, perhaps where you are in the community that you can connect to as well. And we'll do a little vote. And we'll elect somebody. So, okay.
Okay, so the reason I was a maybe is just time and availability. I have a full-time job. It's out in Hillsborough. And then I also just know myself. If I'm asked to do homework and prepare things on the side, that's not my strength. I am. You gotta know you gotta take the pluses and the minuses. So I'm also really happy to lead and guide and keep a meeting on track, because for those of you that participated in the CBC, those headed down rabbit holes sometimes. And we have 2 hours, and it's amazing how fast those 2 hours will go. And then everybody's wanting to leave, but there's still stuff to get done. So I'm happy to keep things on track. I really am not afraid of sharing my opinions and then gathering them from others and advocating. So anyway, I am happy to participate. I just know I can't be a full 100% yes by myself. I wouldn't do it justice. And then, question, the Tuesday morning meetings,
Yes.
time, remote,
Remote
okay,
or in person.
sure,
I mean, we love in-person meetings, but if it has to be remote, we can remote.
Okay.
I mean, people have busy schedules, so, and we can provide materials in advance if that helps, you know.
okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stand up, and actually, I'm gonna yell.
Sure, yeah.
My kids like to say I yell when I'm on my million meetings all day long. So, good evening, everyone. My name is Kate Vance. I use she, her pronouns. My son is a ninth grader here, and I think we have a couple of teachers that are his, which I'll get to tell him all about tonight. I'm sure he'll be very excited about that. And then I also have a 6th grade daughter. And when I'm not grumping at them about homework or driving them to their various activities, I spend my day building libraries with Multnomah County. I'm on the construction side, design, construction, contracts, finance side of building the libraries for the Multnomah County Library Bond Program. So I regularly present to oversight committees, and I'm heavily involved in the design and working with quite a few familiar faces over there. And then also, prior to that, I worked at I was project manager at Portland State University and have done quite a bit of classroom construction as well. I was a maybe because I didn't know what the responsibilities would be. It was just like, the question was, are you interested, or you gonna do it?
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I stand up in the other back there. Okay. My name is Sam. I put down that I was a maybe, mainly because I just was trying not to jump to the front of the room and see, kind of take the lay of the land when I got here. If anyone else is really eager to do this, I'm happy to not do it. One of the reasons I thought of volunteering for the role is I'm also an architect in my day job. So I speak the language a little bit, and if there's back and forth with the architects, I think that I can handle those conversations pretty well. And I also have served on a number of committees. I'm on the board of directors for a nonprofit, and I've done some neighborhood association board work as well, so I kind of get the process of hearing a lot of ideas, trying to synthesize them into something semi-cohesive without letting anything important slip through the cracks, and then coming to an actionable step forward. So that's experience that I have. That's what I bring to the table.
Thank you. Okay, Lisa is handing out some cards. Write down the name of your selection. So we have Ed, Kate, and Sam. Yes. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about just the bond process that's happening right now. Make sure people understand where things are with that. As I mentioned, we don't have construction funding yet, but that has to come from a future bond. The school board, and specifically the school board's Facilities and Operations Committee, has been reviewing options for what would be on a bond. I'm not expecting you to see this at all, it's really small. But just to demonstrate the list of sort of the need and all the different items that the district has sort of compiled. This column in the middle is kind of a cost range, sort of low to high. Some of the cost ranges actually relate to what we call our facility condition index. which is basically how good or how crappy is a school building. And so we have a lot of buildings that aren't doing too well, as you can imagine. And so there's the range of costs in some of these items. The lower range kind of means, okay, we're bringing our facilities up to, say, an okay facility condition. The higher costs are bringing them up to a good facility condition. So there's trade-offs in these conversations. Then there's specific line items for seismic, ADA, security, athletics. We've got a bunch of stuff for technology, physical education, curriculum support, capacity projects. Some of these actually have TBDs because we have folks that are still doing planning efforts to come up with scope and cost for potential projects. Then down here we have what we're calling the modernizations. So we've got Cleveland High School. Also, Ida B. Wells High School is currently starting their schematic design phase. So we're kind of like right in step with Ida B. Wells. And there's some other projects in here too, listed there. So this, what's on this right side, you can get this on the website too. I can send a link to the PBS website for that. But you can probably tell that those look like zeros. These little numbers are, that's what they are. They are zeros. What this is looking at is what we can get on a bond that does not raise taxes. There's a limit. And I think there's sort of general sentiment out there that people don't want to see taxes go up any more than they have. You've probably heard a lot of stories about how great it is here in Multnomah County. I'm a Multnomah County taxpayer. And so if we want to pass a bond, best chance of that is to not raise taxes. So there's a limit to that. There's just one size pie that we can get. And how do we slice up that pie to equitably distribute that across the entire district and all the needs that we have. So I want to just kind of put this in a frame of reference for the group, because we're focused on Cleveland. I mean, we want Cleveland to be awesome. And Cleveland's here. We've got a big chunk of money allocated, $425 million in the draft option. At the school board meeting the other night, our budget requirement is about $448 million. So that number's gonna have to go up a bit. And it will, they're not gonna short us, but this is a draft. But I just want, again, just kind of put the frame of reference into the entire district. And there are a lot of conversations that leadership is having about, how can we make these zeros be actual numbers and allocate costs to there. So this is an ongoing conversation. I think that the board wants to decide on the final bond option. Hopefully, well, they were saying in June, but that probably means July or early August. So we'll see. But we know that there's a desire to fund the high schools, and we have a place on the bond, at least in this draft. We don't see any real indication that that would change. So people are concerned about if we're on or off. We're feeling really confident that we'll be on it, and then we will get our funding. Any questions about that? Yeah, that's right. There's the highlighted one. Here we are. There's Cleveland. So, money's coming. Yes. That's what the general sort of thought is. Yes. The district has had the best luck during a general election. We usually get more people coming out to vote and more people supporting schools and public infrastructure during general elections. If for some reason people can't agree, there's debates, controversy, who knows what. There are always special elections that happen in May. I think it's every other year. But there is one scheduled for May of 25. So that it could be pushed off, but we really doubt that. The great thing that we have as far as for our team, we have $20 million right now. We got that from the 2020 bond, and that is funding our design and planning. So even if there's a hiccup with the bond process, it gets pushed off until next spring or something, we've got the money to keep working for the next couple of years to really get this thing designed, and ready for permits and construction. So we're not gonna stop until we run out of money. But we have money right now to keep going, so that's good. Okay, any questions about that before I hand it back to the architects? Okay. Oh yes, question.
Since you're talking about timeline, is it 2 years for SD and then 2 years for construction? So would we say 4 years from today, we open the new Cleveland if all went according to plan?
If all went according to plan, yeah, or 4 years from August, but yes. Yeah. So if everything goes according to plan and all the ifs become facts and yeses, yeah, we start construction in 2026 and opening the building in 2028. I do have to say something about that though. We've got Ida B. Wells that's under design, and we also have Jefferson High School that's in the design phase. Currently, we're all in the same phase of design. So that means that we could be opening 3 high schools in one fall, which would be a big heavy lift for the district. So we're going to be working on talking to district leadership and making, kind of proposing that as we design and develop this project, that we can also have a project bringing resources to the district to assist in that. A lot of it's in the technology stuff that we do, but we have contractors that we can hire to do the programming, so our folks don't have to do it, things like that. So there may be a debate about who opens when, but we know what we're doing and we can get it done then, and any delay, anything that pushes us out, increases our costs hugely. Our market escalation right now is pretty, it's crazy. Construction costs have gone up so much. So even just pushing it out a year, that's maybe just another $15 million right there just on inflation. So there's a lot of motivation to not push anything out, and we can say, hey, that $15 million can buy a lot of resources to help the district get all those schools open. So we feel pretty confident with that. But just letting you know that that's kind of also happening in the background. Thanks for that question. I'm gonna hand it over to Chris.
Thanks, Eric. So I'm going to talk a little about the site context. All of you are, I'm sure, familiar to varying degrees with the sites at Cleveland High School. I'll also talk a little bit about the process that we went through during the previous master planning comprehensive plan phase, and what we talked about there. So this is the Cleveland catchment area. It's quite large and sprawling. Obviously, some of it is not very residential, but people are coming here from all over the place. Hopefully, most of you saw the plan in the back and were able to put a pin where you're coming from and how you got here. If you didn't, you can do that when you have a chance. But we're just trying to understand, people get here by different ways. Eventually we'll be figuring out, where does the front entry need to be, and those sorts of questions. How do you get from one part of Cleveland to another? And also, highlighted over there is the Marshall campus, which is where students will need to go for a couple of years. So these are the properties that Portland Public Schools owns as part of Cleveland High School. We've got the main Cleveland site where we are now, of course the parking lot across the street, and then the track and field site that's a few blocks away. It's the only Portland Public Schools property that is not contiguous. It has streets going between, so that presents a challenge for all kinds of reasons. Particularly safety is something we're really concerned about. And during the comprehensive plan process, we did talk, sort of started at the biggest picture where, should Cleveland even be on the same site? Should we be looking at Red Meyer? Should we be looking at Target? Could we move the school onto the field site and move the field onto the school site? Could we close down 26th? All of these questions came up, and unfortunately, I think in a lot of ways, the answer was usually no, at least not realistically on our timeline and our budget. and considering, what properties are actually available. So we are, sticking with the same 3 properties. We also, of course, have Powell Park, which is a Portland Parks and Rec property across the street, which the high school uses now. And whether or not it's actually part of this project, there is negotiation going on with Portland Parks and Rec about making improvements there so that can be more heavily used by potentially softball, baseball, soccer, all kinds of different year-round uses on the turf field. This next slide sort of compares a couple of the different high schools, newly remodeled or new high schools to Cleveland. Grand High School is mostly 3 stories, and it kind of sprawls. It's got a giant site next to the park, and so it's a school. It takes a long time to get from my class over here to over here. But in the same way, you can see Lincoln High School. It has a much smaller footprint. It's even smaller than Cleveland's. It's a 6-story building. So we're going to be somewhere in between those 2 with Cleveland, where we're not going to be quite as tall as 6 stories, but we'll be taller than the 3 stories of Grant. And of course, in any event, you have to get to classes either going up and down or side to side. And with that, I'll hand it off to Amanda.
All right, comprehensive plan. So we've been referencing the comprehensive plan, which we just completed 5 months of work. The result of the comprehensive plan is a report, effectively, and that integrates all of the materials that we used with the comprehensive planning committee. So those are all still available to you on the bond website if you want to refer back to that process and look at a little bit more details that we're doing an overview of today. And you have that executive summary as a reminder in front of you of this process. So in comprehensive planning, really we're at the 10,000 foot level, sort of looking at this project, and really our main focus was figuring out where the building should be, to simplify it, the best way possible, and figuring out that on the properties that Chris referenced, what is the best way for Cleveland to create a modernized high school that can create the best conditions for learning and for kids and staff, to welcome the community in, while also being a good neighbor, right, and a good participant in our sort of urban community of Portland. So during that process, we worked closely with the campus planning committee alongside other identity groups and community groups that Dr. Bruce was facilitating to develop a overall vision for the Cleveland High School Modernization Project. So the vision is on the left here. I'm just going to read it out just to make sure everyone has it. So the modernized Cleveland High School will draw inspiration from its context to create a vibrant campus that centers students and staff. The design will celebrate the school's role as the heart of the Cleveland High School community, a vital part of the neighborhood, and an enduring presence in Southeast Portland. So that is the vision statement that will continue to guide us in this phase and moving forward. And to help sort of articulate how we get from that big picture vision statement to a design and a project that people occupy and has an impact on their lives, we developed the goals on the right. So these are component parts that came up a lot in conversations during the comprehensive planning process and will continue to guide our work. So those are also available on the board here, so we can talk about them after we get down the slides. But they are to develop academic and extracurricular excellence with intercultural understanding, to promote health, wellness, and climate resiliency, to improve student safety in and around the sites, to create a welcoming and inclusive environment that supports students and staff, to acknowledge the Indigenous legacy of the site, to enhance Cleveland High School's role as a civic presence and community resource, and finally, to be good stewards of local taxpayer dollars and balance the district-wide facility needs that Eric was referencing that are very real in this process. So, in the comprehensive process, planning process, we looked at many different iterations and ideas about how Cleveland High School could get reimagined on the properties that PPS owns. And we were trying to make big decisions with the input of all the different parties that we were engaging with. So two of those really big decisions that we took on in comprehensive planning was, should we retain the existing building in total or in part and expand it to get to the full Cleveland High School modernized size? Or should we have new construction? So that was our one big decision. And where we landed in that process was that the current Cleveland High School will be demolished and we will have new construction. The second big question that we took on in comprehensive planning was whether we would utilize primarily just the property that Cleveland High School main building is on right now for the total of the new modernized high school, or whether we were going to use this site plus the parking lot site across 26th and expand the physical building to that level. On that note, we have sort of our recommended approach. Next slide. No, sorry. Our recommended approach is with all new construction and all on this property here. There were lots of inputs to that, and we'd be happy to talk about those, but I just want to give you a sense of kind of where we landed after many conversations. And the equivalent to this, the CPC, rather than the DAD, was a really big part of us getting it. In terms of the, we'll talk a little bit about the distributed, expanding over 26 still to get a few last items on that, but it's not currently a recommended option. Okay, so this is a diagram of where we landed in the comprehensive planning process for how we would develop and start to design a modernized Cleveland High School on this property. So to orient you a little bit more is, if you can't see it in the back, this is Franklin Street right here. This is Powell, 28th Avenue, 26th Avenue, that's the existing parking lot in a slightly different layout. So while this is not a finalized building design by any means, it is a sort of concept direction in terms of how we are starting out the schematic design process to understand how we can respond to the different forces, in the neighborhood and on the streets and such, frontages around this property, and respect them, while also creating a really robust, protected community space for the campus on the property. So some of the elements that fed into this sort of general conceptual direction of the project is that we heard a lot of support for making a taller structure, which would allow more open space for students and staff on the site, because open space is something that Cleveland High School students really don't have a lot of access to right now, and there's a lot of priority for that we heard from lots of different members of the community. This was also conveniently our lowest cost approach, was to stay on the main property, which allows students and staff to see each other, to be in community, to have everything in close proximity, but also, there's a tie to that being a very efficient way to construct a building as well. This approach with all new construction was the least risk approach. So with new construction, it's a lot more predictable. It's a much more straightforward both design and construction process. And also, one aspect of looking at using the parking lot site for building was, is the highest and best use of the parking lot to remain a parking lot or be building, right, on a constrained site? And I think that there's lots of opinions about that, and we got some great input. In the end, I think where we have largely landed and recommended is, with the support of the CPC, was to leave the parking lot for parking. That it's limited parking in the neighborhood, that for staff, parking was a really, really important issue that we heard. And so that will remain dedicated to the high school parking. This is the same general approach from a slightly different perspective, looking from Southeast 26th and Powell. So a few more sort of stats and information about where we're starting on this project from schematic design is that the modernized Cleveland High School will be roughly around 315,000 square feet. That is about 50,000 square feet or so larger than the existing Cleveland High School. So many things that you do not have at Cleveland High School right now will be provided by default when we move to the new project and be part of the design. That list of spaces and needs that adds up to that building is called the PPS Education Specification, and you'll hear us say ed spec a lot. We'll try to say the whole word, but you'll hear us falling into that. The education specification is basically a description, both qualitative and quantitative, of what a modernized high school should be. It will be a high school for 1,700 students that supports learning in a wide variety of ways and supports staff so that they can do best for the students and have a working experience as well. So we'll dig into the details of what that means a lot more with you over the next year, but just a piece of vocabulary to get you there. So in addition to our primary focus being the modernized Cleveland High School that meets the Portland Public Schools education specification for high schools, same as all the other high schools, we are looking at mass timber construction. We're looking at that for a variety of reasons connected to sustainability, local resources, and beauty. So that is something that we're going to continue to vet and see how it might fit into this project. There are other projects being built at the same time, which we need to coordinate with as well in the region. But that's something exciting and we'll talk to you more about as we move forward. It's also a baseline assumption because of the Portland Public Schools sustainability strategy plan that this building will be all electric. So we'll have highly efficient systems, all new systems. It will be air conditioned, it will be heated properly. There will be a really high focus on sustainability and comfort in these buildings. And that's coming as a priority from the public schools, from the design team, and from the community we've heard. So, and then a minor item, but important item, is that there will be some upgrades to staff parking to make it meet code, and have bioswales and other appropriate things for vegetation worked in. But we anticipate roughly the same number of parking spots, maybe a couple lost, but not much.
Right. I'm just going to share a couple more slides about the master plan. You may have seen this one. It's page 2 or 3 of the comprehensive plan that I think most of you picked up a copy of. If you don't have one, feel free to raise your hand and we'll bring you one. That is yours to keep and reflect on. The one volume that's not included is 450 pages, which is why we didn't print it. It's all the notes on all the detailed systems so far that we've been thinking about. So you're welcome to look at that on your own. So this is a cutaway view. It's a section cut through the building. For orientation, Powell would be to the right, and this would be Franklin to the left. And while this is not a design yet, it's meant to start to evoke how this building would work and why we are excited about this approach. So having classrooms primarily in this building, which classrooms have regular windows, smaller windows. They would face north and south, which is really good for solar orientation, natural lighting, and they would be looking into the courtyard as well as out towards the neighborhood. The gym and the theater on the Powell side, those are bigger volumes. They're more recognizable from Powell, people driving by at 35 miles an hour. Gives us some opportunity to put some kind of identity for Cleveland out there on Powell, but also blocking Powell from students. And then the really exciting part, I think, is right here in the middle where we've got this space for students, space you've never had before. I mean, Owen, how much outdoor space is there in Cleveland? Any? Very little. It's all brick and concrete. And You'll notice the words over here, these are images and paraphrasing of the goals that we talked about earlier. So these are just early ideas about where we see excitement and possibility in the design. This section cut is actually going the opposite direction, so all the way through the site, this would be 28th Avenue here and 26th Avenue down there. So there's 20 feet of grade change across the site. I guarantee you've never noticed it, now you will if you walk around. So we're going to try to take advantage of that and really think about how that can create a dynamic experience for students. It also means we have two different ground floor levels to think about, what's on which level, how those things connect, what are some of the logical ways to do that. So we'll be getting into all of that in the next few meetings. The track site. So this is also something you'll see in the comprehensive plan we have touched on lightly. We have met with that athletic director and started to talk a little bit more with folks about the needs for that site. So there are many potential ways we might lay this scope out, but the general idea would be to keep the track and the main field in the current location, and then to do what we can to really enhance the west side of the site. So more bleachers, a field house, so actual team rooms, bathrooms, spaces to support the athletics that are down there and to support people who are there watching athletics, because the supports down there are fairly minimal right now. Looking at potentially turf practice fields to create more multi-use space down there, and then looking at other ways we can support the fairly remote field site. So I would say this is in very infancy stage of its design concepts, and so we have a lot of meetings to go through with PBS to really think about what it looks like. And then the last slide I was going to show was, Amanda alluded to this, the current building we've shown the classroom bar is 5 stories tall. We are looking at some implications of making the building only 4 stories tall, which would allow some simplification of the construction process, possibly make it a little easier for students to get up and down. And in order to do that, we have to find places to put that square footage. So that would either be the version we've talked about before, which is across 26th Avenue, which entails building a sky bridge, which really drives up the costs of that approach. That's one we did look at quite a bit during the comprehensive planning phase. The other thing we're just starting to look at is, could we move that square footage to the top of the gym? We don't traditionally build on top of gyms because they're long-span structures, it doesn't work quite as well. But we actually think we have a pretty good solution that might be working there. So that's another approach we're looking at. All the while thinking about what's the student experience and the teaching experience within this building, how do we make sure everyone feels connected and in a good spot. So lots of fun to come. So I'm going to turn this over to Hannah to talk more about our engagement to date, and then we're going to get you all out of your chairs and into an activity.
Okay, so we've referenced the 6-month process that we're just coming out of. I'm going to review who we talked to during that process, and just as a reminder, that was just the beginning. We're going to continue to meet with people, broader groups. I'll let Rhonda talk about who. But you'll see us talk about engagement in kind of 4 major categories here. The first one being the CPC, the Comprehensive Planning Committee. The second one being our school-based engagement groups. The third one being the general public, and the fourth one being community-based engagement, which again, Rhonda. For our Comprehensive Planning Committee, you may see some familiar faces here, including my own, but we had 6 meetings altogether in the States. We had 3 high school tours with Grant, Lincoln, and Cleveland together. Grant and Lincoln were especially helpful in looking at 2 examples of a modernization that took very different routes. In terms of our school-based engagement, our key meetings here, I don't expect you to read all of this, but I'll note that this is also contained within your report in that front end, volume 1. But we met with Cleveland leadership and care leadership classes. That was about 60 students. We had a career learning session. That was about 400 students. We met with school-based groups, and I'm skipping over, but I shouldn't. We also met with CHS staff. We had 2 meetings. We had meetings about climate response and resiliency, and met with district level athletics, theater, and career and technical education. We met with the general public. We had 3 public workshops in the cafeteria, and an open house that was back on April 24th. And we also issued a survey where we got over 1,400 respondents. All of the kind of data from those meetings, again, is reiterated in your report. I'll let Rhonda talk about kind of the community.
Yes, hello again. So we organized our community engagement strategically. We start with key insight interviews. So those are kind of one-on-one or two-on-one conversations with some key folks that are enmeshed and embedded in the community, such as your principal, Joanne, the Native Student and Union Advisor, in fact, Ms. Truewood, and a local community-based organization called ARCO, or the Immigrant and Refugee Community Organization. So from those conversations, that leads us into the next step, which is community listening sessions. So now we're able to open it up to more people. In those insight interviews, we learned what we should dig into, what we need to find out. And then with community listening sessions, we have a bigger group. So for those teachers, paraeducators, and staff in special education helped us create the session that we ended up having with the DAMSU students, which is the Disability and Neurodivergent Student Union on campus. We met with them twice in this library, we got a lot of good information, and we're able to tailor those conversations because we had conversations with the leaders and trusted adults in the SPED program. We also were able to talk with a bunch of other students as well. So we spoke with student leaders of different affinity groups that were on campus, which was very insightful. We specifically tried to connect with teachers and staff of color as well, because a lot of times folks of color are left out of these decision-making processes, or they don't have an interest into them. So that is also a purpose of why AfterGroups is brought into this, to make sure that marginalized or underserved communities are getting specific communications and outreach to them. And yeah, I think good for the next slide. So then we wrote up a nice big long findings and recommendations report that we shared with the lovely design team. So I believe this information is also in the packets in front of you. If you want to dig into it, I'll give you a slight overview. When we say something like history matters in the way that it invisibilizes, it's because we heard that marginalized communities are interested in how they can be a part of that placemaking. One quote that comes up was, when you enter the school, there's a lot of kind of photos from students in history, and a lot of those people represented on the wall are white students, and we heard from students of color, are those the only kids that went here? So it's things like that, that we want to make sure that people feel represented in this new school, in this new opportunity. Another thing that I can call out is designing for the most impacted. When you think about the marginalized communities and you intentionally design for them, it will benefit others. So it does kind of work in bringing everyone up together. That point on the bottom, designing for a range of differences will better serve all communities. Does anyone have any questions about what I've talked about?
I was just going to point out, the report that Rhonda is speaking of is in that 450-page attachment, so it is bookmarked.
All right, I'll pass it back over. Thank you. Thanks, Rhonda. So we just referenced a lot of meetings, and to date, most of the output from those meetings has been words. We've asked you for open-ended feedback on post-its, asked you to vote. Ultimately, we've synthesized all of that, and all of that meaning feedback from the community, from the school, from the user groups, and used it to identify kind of what we're calling emerging themes, so the design themes that you'll see us bring to you in our meetings together. Those will start to take the form of diagrams and plans and 3D views, and we'll move beyond just words. But for now, those main themes that we're kind of congregating around are around accessibility, wayfinding, orientation, choice, identity and placemaking, and kind of wellness and biophilia. So you'll see those show up in studies that look at daylighting, that look at opportunities for pause along the corridors, that look at horizontal and vertical circulation, how we develop our restroom approach, how we show artwork and displays throughout the school, and the overall materials that we use. So we'll continue to come back to you with this set of themes, but this is sort of the output of that process. Okay, so it's me still? Sure. I think in that vein is we'd like to identify now, before we regroup for activities, if there is anything else you all would like to know, and if there are other communities that should be included in the process. I'll start with Ed and then.
So, one thing that I found helpful as part of the comprehensive plan process was touring the other schools. Is that an option for this group also?
Yes.
Okay, good, thank you.
We'll go here, then Vicki, then back to you.
I am curious to know, it seems like there's a lot of need, a lot of involvement. My focus, obviously, is that the softball team is being used for the school community, as we say, with the whole field being 2.5 miles away at the stock farm. And I know that's included in alternate crossings, and I see that there is an improvement in all firms in the proposal, but it is still a separate cost outline. And I'm curious why that isn't included in one makes it one like grant.
No, I'm asking you to answer it, but if you want to pass the mic back.
Sure,
to
sure.
her as well.
No worries. So your question was about softball and baseball?
Why that isn't included more as it's listed as.
Yeah, okay, I just want to make sure I'm getting the question. Thank you. Great question, and I think like also like that's like anything you got, we're happy to like answer it for sure. For baseball and softball, they are really important for this project, and we're aware that like that we would really like to get them in the project. We have looked pretty extensively at how we could possibly fit like softball and or baseball on the track and field site that exists, while still keeping the track and field that is there, and also getting a field house that is sort of needed with that remote athletics property. And to be honest, it just doesn't fit. That even if we made sort of like a compromised softball field, it's still like, it would be unplayable. Like it wouldn't work. Unfortunately, it's just, we don't have big enough property for Cleveland High School that is owned to do that. So we have really looked at it because it is very important, but it's just not within the capacity of what is presently owned by PPS to do that for Cleveland High School. What we are doing to try to mitigate that fact is really look at Powell Park and see whether there's a way that we can leverage that public park for Cleveland High School students and the community. That's a little bit different when PPS doesn't own the property. You know, it's a longer process to have a conversation and get approval and figure out what that looks like. But Portland Public Schools is very much engaging with parks. But that conversation is just starting because it just takes a while sometimes to get that going. So we have looked at whether it could fit in Powell Park. I would say from just a high-level planning feasibility perspective, what fits. It does fit to improve the baseball field there, bring back sort of a softball field a little more formal. But there is enough space to do that, which is really great. But it just fitting doesn't mean we get to do it. So there's just some more hoops that we have to jump through and discussions between two large, public entities to see if we can make that happen. But it's something we're very much working on.
I'm aware that there was a meeting So I'm curious, can you tell me what the outcome was of the discussion with Portland Parks and Rec after Tuesday night's board meeting?
Okay, I was there. So, yeah, our sort of our operations leadership reached out to Parks, and when we brought this to district leadership, saying, hey, we want to try to improve this, solve some sort of complex issues around trying to get to parks and how they operate now, and we've received letters. We have a baseball player and a softball player come to the board meeting, great testimony to the board, so I think that was great, really great deal for the students. So yeah, we had our first meeting with Parks the next day, yesterday, to talk about it. I mean, we tried to schedule it 6 weeks ago, so because I said, hey, we've got an idea. It's going to show up in the comprehensive plan as just an idea, and we don't have cost estimate. We just have a diagram that says maybe this would work. So we got to call Parks and say, hey, we want to try to do this. So we met with a couple leaders from Parks yesterday, and they were, as you can imagine, we're proposing to do something with their property, also kind of making it more dedicated to Cleveland sports. It's different than a public park that's dedicated to the public. So there's a careful conversation that needs to happen and continue to happen with parks. Obviously, we have had a lot of partnerships with parks and improved park properties for PPS athletics. What basically they said is that, okay, well, we see your ideas. We've got some other ideas too. Our planning group is because they're looking at parks all across. They realized, they said, yes, we need more fields in general. We need more fields for the city. We need more diamonds. We need more play fields. So they're definitely supportive of that. And I was encouraged actually with kind of their sort of what they could say, which was limited. I mean, they couldn't commit to anything, but they're going to go back to their planning group and talk about it. And we're going to set up additional meetings and see if we can get some progress on that. Also, just since it is owned by Parks, it would be a different project. We don't want to actually bundle it with the rebuild of Cleveland. We want to have a separate permitting process. It could most likely be a low bid, competitive bid process for that work as well. So it's possible that actually could happen sooner than getting through the 2 years of design to get this project started. So we just got to work with Parks, but I think that there's definitely some momentum, and they're willing to keep talking about it, so that's good.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Just for your knowledge, that was my daughter who spoke for the softball.
She did very well. And I can relate. I remember playing. I played soccer when I went to Cleveland. We always went to Woodstock Park because actually the girls soccer team practiced at Powell Park. But just getting to Woodstock was a challenge. It's like, who has the car today?
Mine's just, simple. It's just to go off of the tours. When we're planning, when you're planning, can you add in Benson?
Oh, Benson.
Yeah.
There was a request to add Benson to the tours.
Yes, but we can't do that until the new school year starts. So right now it's like crazy go nuts construction, and they're up against a hard deadline, and I don't think they'd want to have 30 of us walking through there getting in their way. Plus, it's not done yet. So we're still moving in furniture. They're still finishing technology and things like that. It'd be great to get in there when it's open and we can see it with the students in there, kind of filling it with student life. But we'll definitely be planning that, and we can do that in the fall. Thank you for that. That's good.
Yes. I have a question on the 1,700 students. Is there anything that we need to know as far as the flex of students? And a lot of those schools in Franklin have been stretched, on their initial design capacity. So, anything to share on that as far as what that does?
Yeah, I'll talk about this briefly because it's a very nuanced topic. I don't want to get us too hot into Q&A because we've got some other stuff to do. We're moving along with our time, but the capacity, which is listed as, there's a range of capacity. There's capacity sort of calculation formula that's in those education specifications that we talk about. The 1,700 is kind of like an optimal sort of enrollment where we have a lower classroom utilization for teachers and staff here. Classroom utilization really just means how many class periods you have scheduled for a classroom. We have Grant is like bursting at the seams. So some classrooms, it's hard to believe it's even over 100%. I don't know how that works. But the 1,700 students is based on about a 75% classroom utilization, which within that system allows, it's depending on programming and how the school administration programs and schedules for classes. But the idea is that at 1700, you would have dedicated classrooms, so teachers aren't sharing classrooms. It's just when the enrollment starts to get above that, then there may be times where teachers need to start sharing classrooms because they need to get, they need to have additional, class periods and using those classrooms. Which is also why we provide teacher planning areas within the modernized high schools, so that teachers have an actual office to go to, a place to be, to collaborate with other students, other teachers. So they're not just like kind of kicked out of the classroom for a period. There's actually we build space for them. So that's kind of how we flex with capacity as it goes up. It depends on how much we utilize the periods of the classroom. I know it's a kind of long answer because it's not, it's very nuanced. Oh, is it pizza time?
Thank you. All right, so I know everyone's been sitting for quite some time. We definitely want to get everyone up out of their seats and working on an activity. We call this activity Pizza Pie. You can probably guess why. We've got a crust here that is representative of a site, and then we have pizza toppings that are programs that are within the building. So you'll see here we've got gyms, we've got performing arts, administration, media center, commons, classrooms, and really what we want you to do is to take a look at all of these different components and really start to lay them out in terms of what adjacencies are important. And this isn't a building by any means. This is really trying to understand which adjacencies are important, whether that means something can function as two different things. So could a commons be next to a gym and a theater, because then it can be used as spill out space. If we take a look at community support programs, do those want to be near administration for any specific reason? If we take a look at counseling and career, is that something that really wants to be near admin or maybe in classrooms? So we really want folks to just start to take a look and think about what those important adjacencies are. And what's more important than where you put them is really the discussion around why you put them there. So we'll have teammates at each of the tables. We will be taking pictures. We encourage you to not just look at one idea, but to explore several. We'll take pictures, we'll be taking notes, and then we'll ask each group to share out after we've spent maybe 20 minutes or so to talk about what you found and just the main points of what you're seeing. Does that make sense? Great. I am, yeah. So we've got 5 pizza pies back here. And so if we could count off 1 through 5, maybe starting here.
1,